I'm always the guy who tells people to skip the bargain bin freezer they snag on a weekend sale, because most of the time those cheap units look good on the box and then betray you the first time you try to keep a steady temperature for a week's worth of fresh produce. You end up with a frosty mess, a busted warranty, and a regret that sticks around longer than the ice crystals on the bottom shelf. So when I first saw the KoolMore 30-inch 25 cuffed commercial reach-in fridge, I asked myself the same question: does this feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another pricey promise that will melt under real-world pressure? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The first thing I did was step back from the glossy photos and think about the actual environment where a reach-in refrigerator lives: a coffee shop prep area, a small catering kitchen, or even a busy home office that doubles as a pantry. Those places need a unit that stays cool without constantly humming louder than a dishwasher, that can handle a steady stream of open doors, and that won't turn your budget into a sunk cost after a year of maintenance calls. The KoolMore is marketed as a commercial-grade, stainless steel, top-mount compressor fridge with a 25 cuffed capacity. That sounds impressive, but the proof is in how it behaves once you start loading it with real ingredients. Let's talk capacity first. 25 cubic feet translates to roughly 3 full-size grocery bags stacked side by side, plus room for a couple of deli trays and a couple of drink coolers. In the day-to-day of a CAF that prepares sandwiches, salads, and fresh smoothies, that space is actually a game changer. You can store a week's worth of lettuce, tomatoes, and sliced cheese on the lower shelves, keep a separate bin of milk and yogurt on the middle shelf, and still have room for a bulk bag of frozen berries that you pull out a few times a day. The adjustable shelving means you don't have to compromise on height. I tested it by sliding a full-size sheet cake pan onto the top shelf and the shelves simply dropped down a notch without any wobble. That flexibility is something you rarely get on lower-priced units that lock you into a single shelf layout. Temperature stability is another practical concern. The KoolMore advertises an optimal temperature range for fresh food storage, and while I don't have a lab-grade thermometer to quote exact numbers, the unit's top-mounted compressor does a solid job of keeping the interior around 35-38 F even after the door is opened 10 times in a row during a busy lunch rush. I ran a quick side-by-side test with a budget 15 cuffed reach-in that sits on the same floor. After an hour of heavy traffic, the budget unit's temperature drifted up to the low 40s, while the KoolMore stayed comfortably in the mid-30s. That difference matters if you're trying to keep dairy from curdling or prevent leafy greens from wilting faster than you can sell them. The stainless steel interior and exterior are more than just a sleek look. In a commercial setting, you get a lot of splashes, drips, and occasional spills. The smooth metal surface wipes clean with a damp cloth, and there's no porous coating that stains or retains odors. I actually spilled a whole bottle of orange juice on the floor of the fridge during a test, wiped it up within a minute, and there was no lingering scent after a couple of hours. That's a practical win for anyone who hates fighting the ghost smell that can develop in cheaper models with plastic interiors. Now, let's get into the trade-offs. The first thing many buyers notice is the top-mounted compressor. It's quieter than a rear-mounted unit because the vibrations are directed away from the door, but it also means the top of the fridge gets warm to the touch. If your kitchen has low ceilings where you need to stack another unit on top, you'll have to give that space a few inches of clearance. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's something to plan for in a tight back-of-house layout. Also, the door swings outward on a single hinge. That's fine for most freestanding installations, but if you have a narrow aisle where the door needs to open into a wall or another appliance, you'll have to be mindful of the swing radius. Energy consumption is a subtle cost factor. Commercial reach-ins are built to run continuously, and the KoolMore is ETL listed, which means it meets a certain safety and efficiency standard. In my month-long trial, the unit ran about 12% less than the budget model I compared it to, according to the built-in energy meter on the back panel. It's not a massive savings, but over a year it adds up, especially if you're running multiple units in a small business. Who should buy this? If you run a coffee shop, a bakery, or a catering operation that needs reliable refrigeration for fresh produce, dairy, and a few pre-made items, the KoolMore hits the sweet spot. It offers enough room to keep inventory organized without having to